Hey y'all, I'm Aeon.
And I'm the Lioness.
And you're listening to Box number 512 podcast.
Grown Black Trans Woman Talk. Changing your world one conversation at a time.
The show begins now. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of Box number 512 podcast, Grown Black Trans Woman Talk. I am your co-host Aeon.
And I'm the Lioness. How y'all feeling?
Before we get into updates, we have an addendum to a story that we did last week. So on last week's episode, Onika's brother's cousin's friend's balls, whatever, I can't remember the name. Y'all know the episode because y'all random number. That episode got more listens than the episode that came out before it. So apparently, because of Nicki Minaj's story of her cousin's friend's balls being inflamed or whatever from the vaccine shot, it's prompted the Prime Minister of Health in Trinidad to launch an investigation to find out who this person is. Did they really experience effects from the vaccine shot? And allegedly, people are looking for the woman that called off the wedding because he was unable to produce kids. So I just thought that was a funny update to the story. And also, it's just a further example of if you're a celebrity, keep your business off of social media because what you post does have real life consequences. And the story was probably a lie because apparently they can't find this cousin.
So there was no cousin, huh?
They can't. Well, it still may be a cousin, but on the island of Trinidad, they haven't found him. And I don't think Trinidad is that big, and I'm assuming everybody would know everybody. But the point is, Nicki lying on Trinidad, and they're very upset with her. They're very upset with her. So I just wanted to give that update that story is probably a lie, but we did that last week.
What I was going to say this just really fast because I got to get my 2 cents on this because I read it last week. What I found interesting because I did watch the press conference myself was he talked about how much time they wasted trying to find this person. Like they actually for real were looking, and in his statement, he actually said, the amount of wasted time they spent an entire day checking out sources, and that it did not exist. And Nicki has not said anything. So Nicki, if you're listening, which I doubt. But if you're listening, you got to stop this. You got to stop. They're not playing with you in 2020 and 2021 and this COVID. And you got to stop lying. Everyone out there, I don't think that there were nuts that were swollen. I think that was a story she concocted or, it's like one of those, I heard a friend that said. So shout out to you, Nicki. We want you to do better. We want you to rise from this experience. We want you to live authentically in truth. Amen.
Yeah, but definitely had to give that follow up. But turning to updates, and I'll keep it brief because we have a special guest on today's episode. So today is my second day in my new job. I'm working at a new law firm here in the DC area. It is very overwhelming. Of course, there are a lot of forms to sign, a lot of new practices to get acclimated to, and a lot of new programs that I've never heard of. But I'm happy to be starting a new chapter, to be practicing a totally different area of law. And I just look forward to growing as a young attorney. And and I also noticed that I'm one of the only I haven't seen that many Black people employed, so I'm the only Black attorney that I've seen since I've been there for 2 days. So I'm taking that in and also processing, not just being the only Black person, but like what that signifies, especially how far I've came, the odds have been stacked against me. So it's kind of like double fold. But I was chosen to be in this position. I'm definitely qualified, and we just want to rock it to the wheels fall off. I'm definitely on a new journey, and I look forward to seeing this to the end. I'm very blessed to be in this position. Last week I had my dog. My mom she made it safely back from her birthday vacation to Cancun. So I'm happy that she's back, but I do miss my dog. But I left some of her things here because I told my mom that I want her to start bringing a dog here just so because I miss having her here and I love taking care of her. I like having something to take care of. But Savannah is back in Baltimore, but I love her dearly. I try to go back to Baltimore when I can. My mother and I are taking a weekend vacation to Las Vegas in November. We just booked the flight and the hotel. My uncle lives in Las Vegas and we're going there for his 60th birthday. I haven't seen my Uncle Ben since I was a child.
Oh, wow.
So this will be interesting, but Uncle Ben is married to a white woman. You know, usually black men that are married to white women, they're a little bit more docile when it comes to like the LGBT stuff. So I don't have to worry about him calling me out my name or none of that. And one of his daughters is a lesbian, so I'm definitely going. And I think he's one of the family members that's been asking to see me or asking about me. So I'm definitely in a phase of my life where I'm trying to put myself out there to develop relationships with people that have extended an olive branch. And this will definitely be a way of me extending the olive branch. And I'll be going to Las Vegas for the first time. This will be like the first trip that my mother and I have taken since I've been a grown adult.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, together. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, it's a lot of great stuff going on with me out here in these dating streets, but we'll save those stories for another episode. But I'm just really in a great space. I'm really happy to be here and I'm just on a journey of living life and taking everything day by day. I will turn it over to you, sis. What's going on with you?
Living, loving, and laughing at the bullshit. So my week has been busy. I've been this past week I've been doing some work for my nonprofit, Trans Individuals Living Their Truth Incorporated. We got some big things coming up. I made some new relationships. I also have been really busy this week with my fellowship. I have so as a part of the fellowship, they give us these assignments that they want us to do, and I'm excited for this opportunity, but I'm also, dealing with, managing different personalities. Shout out to my mentor. I'd love to meet with you more often. But I mean, it's been a busy week. I've been able to do some more consultant work, which is always good because, the consultant checks actually be cute on the low, especially when you get, when you work it out right. So I've been blessed to have some new opportunities coming up this week. So coming up tomorrow, I will be headed to Florida to spend the rest of the week with my mother-in-law. This trip was not planned significantly in advance, so there's that in my head, like wrapping my mind around going to Florida, being with family. But it's a good thing. I'm excited. So we'll be heading out tomorrow morning. And life is good. It's a lot going on. I've been putting out fires left and right, but I think that busy is always good, particularly when busy gets to the bottom line. So I don't have no complaints. Life is good. And I'm excited for you, Brianna. When I saw your post today about your new position, or yesterday about your new position, I was very excited for you. And I want you to know that I love you and I am very proud of your accomplishments.
I love you too, sis.
I am very excited for your future. I think that you are blazing trails and you are really, really transforming the landscape one day at a time with your job. I know, sometimes, particularly in the work that you do, sometimes people can forget how transformative it is to have someone that looks like us in these spaces. And I just want to just give you all the shine and love right now because you are being a possibility model for so many trans women out there that may not necessarily see themselves and see law as an option because of the societal, the stigmas and the societal oppression that says certain people can't do certain things. So thank you for your existence and thank you for continuing to pursue work for this community. But now I don't want to talk much longer because we have a wonderful guest coming up. So I'll let you introduce our guest tonight.
Definitely. Before we get to the guests, definitely have to do some housekeeping. But before I do that, my thoughts and prayers are with the Haitian refugees at the Texas border.
Did you see that footage?
Yeah, I saw it, and it's really making me nervous, and it's really giving me anxiety because if they whip them and there's people taking pictures, I'm scared that one of them are going to lose their lives at that Texas border. So I'm just praying whatever. I'm hoping that there's some Black Center organizing spaces that can specifically go to that border and advocate for those people. Like at the end of the day, my point is let them into the country. They're not hurting anybody by being in the country. Trying to arrest.
We can get 3,000 Afghan people on planes, more than 3,000 Afghan people on planes across the world over here. And what is the difference in their qualifications versus these other individuals that are in an equally unstable country that are coming over here? Asylum is asylum, or at least I thought. But apparently there have been policies based on this that to actively discriminate against Haitians for a very long time. I've been doing a deep dive on that today, sis, and it is deplorable.
Right. So and deport them where they don't have anywhere to go back to. That's why they're risking their lives traveling by foot through Central America to get to Texas. It's just like, come on, arrest them. And I just saw something on the news. The governor is like, well, we're going to arrest them. Arrest them for what? Literally wasting taxpayer money, taxpayer resources that will be better spent into providing social services, mental health services, translate. Like, it's just so disgusting to see how inhospitable we are in land that's not even ours.
You know what I find interesting as well? The Biden administration's hesitancy to really take the stand that I feel that they should take to support these immigrants. They're using policies that the Trump administration used around COVID to deny these people access. And I just think that that's just deplorable. And on top of that, I want the African American community here to know we don't have the luxury of turning a blind eye to this, because a lot of the way that they're perceiving these individuals is a residual residue of the way that they see us and the way that we're treated. And because these are Black people, particularly for us African Americans, us Black folks in America, we need to really, really try to do our best to be welcoming also. I was listening to a prominent Haitian activist in Houston on TV talk about how he is having a hard time even getting Black churches in Houston to wrap their minds around trying to support these individuals, because they are not even seeing this as an issue that affects them, as if they don't have
y'all want to be white so bad. Y'all want to be white so bad.
And so shout out to our Haitian listeners out there. Shout out to the entire country of Haiti. We know that you're going through a lot right now. And, you know, whether you hear it from any other place, at Box Number 512 Podcast, we're here to support you. And I do want also, sis, if we can, to try to, if you don't mind, I would like for us to put a link to some type of Haitian support service on this page, because it is actually frightening to know that there are thousands of people that are basically just being treated like dogs at the border. It really is.
Right. Not because they're refugees, but because they're Black. Like, it's not
refugees.
Right. So, like, let's be clear. So, definitely want to say that if you're listening to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, please be sure to review and leave a comment. It helps other folks who are looking for Black trans femme content to find our podcast. I actually did the search and typed in Black woman to see what pops up. And really, it's only us that's popping up under that thing. So,
rightfully so.
Right. we definitely want to see more podcasts, because we're not the only ones out there. But make sure you're reviewing, make sure you're leaving those comments, make sure you're telling a friend about our podcast. Word of mouth is a real thing, and it can be very powerful. Now that we've gotten that out the way, we have a very special guest on Box Number 512 Podcast. We are going to be joined by Jeremy Herte, aka Jeremy. host and creator of Let's Talk Bruh podcast. It's a podcast that I've been listening to since before Box Number 512 podcast was even a thought. And when I heard the podcast, I was like, oh my God, like Black men are actually having these conversations amongst themselves, and they're trying to like be better and get better, and they know about like trans women and Black feminist theory, and like it blew my mind that Black men were kind of like self-organizing in that way, and kind of having counsel amongst each other. And I listen intermittently only because I know I'm not the audience and not every conversation is for me. But I've been trying to get Jeremy on here for a while because I really respect his platform and the work that he does. And I know that a lot of Black cis men do follow our podcast and listen to our podcast. And we definitely talk a lot about doing the work and self-help and not using Black women and femmes for labor. So it just made sense for us to have him on our platform, just so he can just talk about his journey and the work that he's been doing. And hopefully it will inspire some of y'all guys to go on over to his platform and support his platform. And also build community amongst yourselves and do your own work, because and I've said it before, when Black men become free, we all can be a little bit safer in the world. And I'm all about creating safety for everybody. So without further ado, Jeremy, please come on the line.
What up? Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate you.
Definitely. Thank you for coming on down. So to just get this started out, introduce yourself to the people, tell them where you're from, and tell them about your platform, Let's Talk Bruh.
So thank you again for the invitation. And I think one thing you forgot to mention is you were featured on one of our episodes, Brianna, maybe 3 months ago. So just let the audience know that.
Briefly featured.
But featured nonetheless, this don't
yes. So Jeremy Herte, he, him, his pronouns, in terms of like how Let's Talk Bruh started officially in 2018, but it kind of had its origins, I guess, in the years prior. So I think for me, in my kind of early DC days, mid-20s, 2014, 2015, 2016, just being out in DC, being young, single Black man in DC, just kind of feeling like I am that dude, just like can't tell me shit. And then, number one, being checked by people in my life, specifically Black women in my life, whether it's like some dating situations, whether it's, how I'm showing up as a friend. And then also during that time, kind of seeing the conversations on social media shift around like things around Me Too. And a lot of these issues became more visible on the internet. So I'm kind of being called out in my personal life, kind of seeing these conversations happen online about like Black men, masculinity, what needs to happen. I'm realizing that, okay, I'm being called out, I'm seeing it happen, and I can't really deny this shit. Like, I can't just sit up here and say like patriarchy isn't real or toxic masculinity isn't a real thing. Like, I'm experiencing it. I'm being called out. So I think for me, it just kind of became something I became really interested in. So just, doing some self-study, kind of doing the very kind of stereotypical, like buying my bell hooks, like my first starter kit into like Black feminism, my bell hooks and all that. And like really just taking a real interest to it because I feel like I was able to see a different type of masculinity presented in what Bell Hooks was talking about. And like, okay, she's calling men out, but this actually makes sense. Like I can relate to being a kid and being a young Black boy and being told not to cry, and that never felt healthy, never felt healing. So I was then really interested in trying to have these conversations with, friends and kind of seeing, what spaces existed either online or whatever, where, Black men were having these conversations. So that's kind of where the genesis started. In terms of why, I wanted to kind of start this platform and start, have this community. So from there, 2018, started the podcast, and we've kind of been going from there. And, the community, Facebook group, got the book club. So really just kind of came from like a personal, series of moments, early 20s, and then kind of seeing these conversations happen. And then, from there, started to really, get involved and have the episodes and, connect with the community. So long answer, but hope that gives you kind of like, a little bit of the origin of Let's Talk Bruh.
It does. So I am fascinated because I know that your theme this season is divesting from patriarchy. And I know that we live in a day and time where it is not popular to say what you say, particularly in the Kevin Samuels, the clubhouse gangster.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Box Number 512 Podcast, Grown Black Trans Women Talk.
And don't forget to become a patron on the Box Number 512 Patreon page, where we have all new exclusive content.
And also, don't forget to follow us on our social media, on our Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook pages. And also, become a subscriber on our YouTube page. Until next time, bye.